Hello, here we are, chapter 13 of Hercufleas. I think I made a mistake at the end of the last video and said end of chapter 13. That was the end of chapter 12, obviously, because today is the end of chapter 13. I'm in Lydia's little sort of study room at the moment. Look what I found. Ooh, chocolate egg. I might have that before I start. Hope you're all well. Now, oh, do you remember what happened? The end of chapter 12, Greta ran out of breath. She was blowing this flight that kept them up in the air, and then she ran out of breath, and Hercufleas and Greta have fallen straight down onto Ugor, who is this attractive looking evil person here with the pig which can fire bullets out his snout. Right, here we go. Chapter 13. Ugor snatched Greta by her brambly hair. She kicked and flailed, trying to put the flight to her lips again. He tore it from her grasp and crushed it to bits. Hercufleas tumbled off the end of the instrument, an invisible dot in the night. He landed head first in Onk-Onk's left nostril. The pig sniffed, and with a yell, Hercufleas was sucked up its snout. There, at the end of a long tunnel packed with gunpowder and bogies, he had an idea. Before his brain could tell him what a stupid, reckless and dangerously explosive idea it was, Hercufleas rolled himself into a ball, shut his eyes and bit down as hard as he could. Onk-Onk sneezed, and with a bright blue flash, a gigantic force shoved Hercufleas in the back. He shot out of Onk-Onk's snout at well over 1,000 miles an hour, straight into Ugor. There was a clang like a blacksmith's anvil. The barbarian stumbled backwards, his armoured breastplate dented and cracked. Hercules felt as if he'd been hit with a sledgehammer. He fell on the ground, winded and dazed. Above him, Greta stood blinking in confusion, wondering how she was still alive. Then she spotted a little brown pebble on the beach stagger to its feet. Her hero. "Ugh," said Ugor. "Bad Onk-Onk. Why you break Ugor's best armour?" Greta had a fraction of a second to escape. She grabbed Hercufleas with one hand and her axe in the other and ran. Ugor staggered to his feet in a daze. "Back to the house hat," gasped Hercufleas in her palm. He lay there thinking of his family and how he would never, ever go adventuring again. But Greta ran to the shore, where a beautiful white bird stood over the body of Prince Zin. Behind her, Ugor jumped on Onk-Onk, who squealed as he charged towards them. "Stop!" urged Hercufleas. "You're going the wrong way." In one leap, Greta was on Artifex's back, nestling between his little wings. "Go," she said. "Go!" Artifex twisted his long neck round to stare at her, head cocked. "Go, Artifex!" Now, do you remember who Artifex is? Artifex is the sort of horse type, this creature here that used to belong to Prince Zin, who has died. So this Artifex is this creature. Then the bird saw Onk-Onk rushing up from behind, and suddenly they shot forward like an arrow from a bow. Down the shingle they flew towards the waves. Ugor roared and cursed, but Artifex outran his shouts. In a matter of seconds he had reached a jetty. He ran on right to the very end, right to where there was no more jetty, only waves. They didn't stop or sink. Faster than the wind, Artifex splashed across the water like a skipped stone. You know when you're skimming stones. When Hercufleas looked back towards Avalon, the lights of the island had already vanished into the mist. It was pitch dark upon the lake. The only sounds were the splish, splish, splish of Artifex's feet and the howl of the wind through his feathers. And at that moment it struck Hercufleas with as much force as he had struck Ugor that nothing would be the same again. The house hat, the exotic blood, the boingy boing room, All of it would have to end. Mr. Stickler hired out villains. He was not an agent just of good, but of evil. And because he was their host, without knowing it, the Fleemily lived off evil too. Now Hercufleas knew the truth. They'd have to leave. They would become just like other fleas, scavenging blood wherever they could, always at risk of being squished by thumbs or drowned in hot soapy baths. His adventure had ruined everything. But if he hadn't left with Greta, she would be the dead one now instead of Prince Zin. Hercufleas might have saved her life, but the life his Fleemily had known, the life Hercufleas had lived for one wonderful day, that was over. End of chapter 13.